I eat all the weird things that people think you're weird. I like to be weird because that's my comfort food. I'm D. Can. My grandfather was Li Bing. He was one of the Zhongshan merchants that came up from the big fire in Chinatown in Warner Grove. He came up to the town of Locke when George W. Locke was opening up this area. The Chinese that were in Warner Grove were Toisan people along with Zhongshan people from southern China. The Zhongshan and Toisan speak different Cantonese subdialects. So the Zhongshan didn't understand the Toisans and the Toisans didn't understand the Zhongshan. A lot of friction. The reason why he didn't rebuild in the fire ravage of Warner Grove, China, is because the Chinese could not own land. At this opportunity, when the fire hit, he saw there was an opportunity to vacate, along with the 7 other merchants. The other Zhongshans that were living in Warner Grove around the surrounding areas, maybe in Cortland, maybe even further in the I-10, gathered here also. That's how Locke got formed in 1915. I was born in 1950. The heydays of Locke were 1915 to possibly the 1940s. It's just normal for a mother to have 10 kids. The town was filled with Chinese. The area in the Delta was loaded with Chinese. By the time I was born, the thousands of Chinese that were here were merely hundreds. When I reflect on my childhood, I reflected at the period that I was born. We could fill up a school bus to go to elementary school. 30 kids, 40, that's it. Their time, there were segregated schools here. They went to Oriental school. They didn't go to white school. The whites had their own schools. The Chinese couldn't own land. We weren't good enough for anything. The Chinese were second-rated citizens, even though they did the physical work.
How was this town like when you were young, and what was the landscape of it?
Okay, by the time I was 5 years old, that's the period of time when you start to remember things. The main street, many of the business main street were closed already. The Chinese have left by 1940 after World War II, 1945. Many of them have left. So there was nothing really going on there, but we were still not allowed during that period of time to buy land anywhere in the Delta. Chinese could not buy land to build a house. So we were still here. Growing up here, we had our own baseball team, softball team, basketball team, because the laws then, we were not allowed to participate in Little League. We couldn't join Boy Scouts. My father, he had a business in Warner Grove. He was not allowed to join Rotary. He was Chinese. So there were a lot of hindering factors. So growing up there, had a great time running around all over the place, but we never vacated Locke. In the back of Locke, there's a slough of a lot of waters. We all, as kids, fished. None of us had any money. So you look for a good piece of bamboo. Ladies are growing bamboo. They love to grow bamboo. Well, they're not gonna let you cut the bamboo. So you go steal the bamboo. You take your mom's knife or a cleaver and cut the bamboo. Now you got the bamboo, but you have to buy some line. And there were quite a few bait stores at that time when I was growing up. We bought some line. Now you needed a cork. Well, Al's place on Main Street, it's a bar. They serve whiskey. Whiskey has a cork. The cork is your float. They throw the bottle out in the back of the store into the garbage. We as kids go dig around the garbage. Yeah. We find the cork, cut the cork off, thread the string through there. Now we have to buy the hook. Now you have a complete fishing pole. As you grow up, you go, man, this fishing pole is too small. I'm growing up, I'm growing taller. We'll go steal another piece of bamboo, get a longer one. Bicycles were hard to get. If any opportunity of times to get a bicycle might be a police auction of stolen bicycles that no one reclaimed and you could auction it. My dad got me one for $5, but you couldn't go to, we didn't have any money to go to the store to get a bicycle. Sometimes somebody gave you a bicycle. So a bicycle was a premium. So when you had a bicycle, you have, you know, cops and robbers chase around town. Yeah. On the top of Locke, right on the highway, there's a broad walk. I call it a broad walk. Porches, all made out of wood and extended from the south of town all the way to north town. Most of it's gone now. There's some still there. And my joy was to get on one end, the north end or south end of that little porch and run my bike and fly over the ramps, you know, and jump down. Well, that lasted about a couple tries until a grandmother would come out of the building screaming with a broom and yelling at you. If you come by here again, I'll knock you off the bicycle. And so we get yelled at. And Locke was funny because we were all Zhongshan people. So all the grandmothers and the aunties will tell on you. There was informants all over town. One day, my mom and my dad had to work, so my sister and I decided to go make mud balls. So we went out in the garden and we made these clay mud balls, and we said, well, now we need to dry them to make them nice and hard. I don't know what we were going to do with them. So we climbed on the roof and we put them on bamboo basket that they in China they use to dry red date. So we put it on there. We got up there and we finished, and we were really proud of ourselves that we were doing this. So we started playing something else. Pretty soon my dad comes driving down in the car and goes, what are you guys doing on the roof? I go, how do you know we're on the roof? He goes, so-and-so called the store and said, you guys were climbing on the roof. So we got busted again. So everybody tells on you. You can't do anything. From Main Street to 2nd Street, the back residential area, had the best play. Well, that's where we play marbles. I had a little suitcase that had marbles in there, and we draw a circle. Well, that's the place that we would play. Beyond that, there was a Christian Baptist church in the back of the residential area. Christian missionaries came to Locke trying to convert, really heavily try to convert the Chinese into Christianity. Church members were saying that the first thing you have to do is get the confidence of the children, and then the children will bring the parents. The church would always have to have a yard, a play yard, to make the little kids be happy. Well, that was our softball field. Well, we didn't have any money to make first base, second base, and third base. So my mother, and every mother in Locke, usually knows how to sew. Well, she took old pantyhose that had runs in it, filled pillowcases, and sewed them up and made first base, second base, third base, and home plate. I took a piece of board. So right field did not have anything because the vegetables garden in there. Center field was the only place you actually can hit. Left field, if you pull the ball down the left field line, you'll hit the church windows and break a window like I did. And that cost $5, and you had to pay it. I mean, your dad is not going to pay it. You're going to have to work, do something, rake leaves or something to get the money to go to the church to pay for the broken window. That was our baseball field. Behind Main Street, across from Yin Chong, the biggest grocery store in town, and in 1940, that grocery store was the largest volume grocery store in all of Sacramento County. So that kind of proves how many Chinese were in the Delta. Well, right across the street was their warehouse. Well, on the back of the warehouse, their back of the wall of the warehouse was really solid. So we put a basketball net there. So that was our basketball court. Those are the two sports that we generally play, and we went fishing like we did. It was happy time, but a lot of times you just couldn't be integrated. Even though I'm a third generation American, I was segregated to the world. My dad was born here on Main Street. He was denied a lot of things that normal American citizens would get just because he's Chinese.
Do you remember where you were when major historical events occurred?
Yeah.
Like what you were doing?
I guess the Kennedy assassination will be one. I was 7th grade in grammar school, and I heard many of the schools closed down. We had a principal who was very, very strict. Even out of school, you were scared to walk in front of her without saluting almost. I mean, she was that strict. She dished out corporal punishment because you could not speak anything but English. It wasn't bilingual. And you were punished if they heard you speak Chinese. She says, the president's dead, but school has to go on. All the students say, man, you don't even have a heart. Another thing that happened in 7th grade, because 7th grade I remember very well. In 1962, because where Warner Grove's located, it was a transmission center for TV stations. So they built a communication tower here, and that's that red and white tower behind you, that little triangle tower. The 3 large networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS, put a transmission tower up there. As 7th grader, the teacher had a telescope, and we watched them put each part of that tower together on the very top. And I think that was one of the events that I could remember. Best teacher was in 7th grade. We only had one 7th grade teacher. He helped students in Locke get a scholarship to go to UC Berkeley. He was a PE teacher. I wasn't really the best student in class. I thought life was supposed to be that way. You know, you're supposed to have a good time.
How has the world changed since you were a child?
Dramatically. When we were kids, things were simple. When I grew up, we had a landline. And to get out of the landline to call somebody, like maybe your house, all I have to dial, because it was a rotary dial, was 4 numbers. But the 4 numbers will get you straight to your house. The operator will come on if you have to make a long distance call. Anything more than 3 miles away from this town, 3 miles was considered long distance. Okay, so no one ever used the phone. It was too much money. For me, living in Locke as a boy, I learned to eat Chinese food, Cantonese food, because we were all Cantonese. I learned how to cook food. I still cook the same way. I still use the sauces. I still pot it. I still eat the chicken feet, the pig's feet. I eat all the weird things that people think you're weird. I like to be weird because that's my comfort food. I would say if you take all the kids that were in Locke, and there's not hardly any of my generation ever going to come back here because they left because the memories are so bad with segregation and discrimination. I believe one thing, America is an immigrating country from everywhere, unless you're Native American. We all came from someplace. We bring something from your home nation, from your home country. That should be good. It is good. My grandparents bought it from Guangzhou and from the Pearl River Valley. I cook those things from Pearl River because it means something. It means comfort to me. Yeah. In '85, when Deng Xiaoping opened China to overseas Chinese, I walked back into my village in the Pearl River Valley. I thought I never left Locke. The buildings were the same. They were close together. The smell of boiling bamboo shoots, black mushrooms on the stove, that smell my children can't stand, but I love the smell of it because it's the smell of home. That's, to me, my life. I'm third generation. My grandfather came here 1893. It's 2026. My wife asked me, well, everybody's left and you're still here. I am still here.